that finds us. My name is Delia Folk, and this is my mom, Allison Brune. And today we are here with Tracy Matthews, who is the founder and chief visionary officer of Flourish and Thrive Academy. She is also the host of a podcast called Thrive by Design Podcast, which I have been featured on twice. I'm so honored and thrilled. We will include a link to both of those episodes in the description in case you haven't heard it. And she is a fitness professional specializing in Ashtanga and Vinyasa yoga. We actually met through a 6 Degree Society connection, and while we were trying to find a time to get together in our busy entrepreneurial lives, she moderated a panel that I was speaking on at the Independent Jewelry Summit. So we met, and we are so excited to have you today.
It's so exciting to be here.
So let's talk about what steps did you take when you said, okay, I'm definitely going to start a brand. How did you go about doing that?
Well, you know, back in the day, I started selling just on the side for like 5 years. And I remember back then thinking I was making so much money because I sold like $10,000 worth of jewelry at like 3 jewelry parties in a year. And so that was exciting because there was like interest. At least my friends and family loved me and they wanted to buy stuff from me. But then I started getting noticed because I would walk into stores, people would comment on it because I like love fashion. So I was always shopping or whatever. And that's when I started having conversations with store buyers. And then I realized, you know, there's some legs to this. Let me just try it out and see how it goes.
Okay, so talk us through the highs and lows of your jewelry business and how did you use that experience in the rest of your career path?
My first 2 really exciting moments were getting into Metier SF, which is Metier San Francisco, which was it still is an amazing account. They used to sell, it was a fashion store, but they sold a lot of really great jewelry like Kathy Waterman. And that was one of the accounts I feel like that really opened the door for me to get into other places or start to get noticed. And then the second store that really like opened the door for me was Twist online. And that, those were some of my first accounts when I was starting like in early 2000s, late 90s. That kind of changed the scope of my business. I would say a high and a low was getting on QVC because that was like a really interesting experience. Like I talk about it a lot for what we do over at Flourish and Thrive. And it was a low because like I didn't really get how to sell on TV and it didn't go very well. And so it was an interesting experience. So I would say like the lowest moment was when the stock market crashed in 2008. We had just placed a big order with a store that went out of business, which I will remain nameless. But that one account like really crushed us because it was a big order. It was like $35,000. And on top of that, we had been shipping to Red Envelope and all these other stores. And all of a sudden, all these bankruptcy notices started coming in. And it was like one after another. And our small boutiques were just going out of business. And then, you know, you're not getting paid. So that was interesting. And it like really, made me take a hard look at what I was doing and evaluate, do I really like this enough to keep this going? And so I decided to close, and 2009 was the last year of Tracy Matthews Designs, and it was like the best thing I ever did.
And then let's talk about what is Flourish and Thrive Academy.
Flourish and Thrive Academy is a passion project that I co-founded with my friend Robin Kramer, 6.5 years ago now. It seems like we just started it yesterday, but after my first business failed, I went and did a little soul searching. I started a new company. It became successful really quickly, but because I had built such a brand and people knew who I was, and no one knew why I'd really closed my business back then. I would get a lot of designers asking me to mentor them, or can you meet for coffee to pick your brain and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm busy trying to build a new business. Like I'm happy to help you, but at a certain point, like I'm happy to give you a few tips, but if you really want all my business, 25 years of business advice, let's talk about consulting. So I would deliver these consulting packages, and I started working with a few designers, but then many designers wouldn't be able to take me up on it because it was an investment, you know?
Right, of course.
Typically it was about $1,000 a month to start with me, and I would do several calls with them, and they would have unlimited access to me. But even back then, I think there was like a resistance to that. So I'm like, how can we do something that could deliver that kind of value where we could give them all the tips right away, but that was a little bit more affordable. And so I had this idea where I wanted to start these online courses and kind of walk people through the platform of working with me on a one-on-one consulting basis for an entire year to set up their brand and how to kind of lay the foundation of a strong brand. And we walk them through the details of like how to really attract their dream clients, how to share their story, how to design collections that actually sell, how to price jewelry, because that's like one of the things that I think people really struggle with.
So how can brands set themselves apart in today's landscape?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think the most important thing is, you hear this over and over again, and this probably come out of your mouth too. It's really about being able to communicate a compelling story that can connect and hook with the people who will become your biggest raving fans.
Thank you so much for joining us today on The Style That Binds Us. We hope you were inspired by our conversation with Tracy Matthews. Stay tuned next week to see what's coming up. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and make comments. Thanks so much again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.